Bitcoin just made an all-time high right below $110,000, and we made some of the most profitable trades we have done in a very long time. The community is printing. In today's video, we'll be talking about the recent all-time high that Bitcoin just made. We'll also be talking about the key levels that you should be looking at, what's next to come, and we'll talk about the massive whale that is now in a serious loss. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So the most bullish case scenario plays out, and if you've been watching the channel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We got 2 daily confirmations above 106.2K, which fueled us to go ahead and put in a massive all-time high right around $110,000. Maybe I shouldn't say massive because it was only a wick above the previous all-time high. Now, right now, as I'm recording this video, Bitcoin has since corrected back down to $107,000, but the point is still there. We made the all-time high, we got those daily confirmations, and if you had entered along based on those daily confirmations, you were likely in significant profits. But with the volatility that comes around an all-time high, it's of course very important to take those profits and not just round trip them, especially if you're trading with a lot of leverage. Right now, we're at $107,000, and I am currently sitting in an absolutely ginormous trade. We can see here that I made $40,000 shorting Bitcoin right around the top. Hear me out. So as Bitcoin made this pump, I went ahead and activated a short, and the price did keep on pumping shortly after until we came back down and we got a massive red candle. Now, it's always possible that this massive red candle can turn around and Bitcoin does go ahead and pump higher, but around the all-time high and flirting with the previous wicks that we were setting here was an excellent opportunity to enter a quick short and make a lot of profit. This was probably one of the highest conviction trades that I've had in a very long time. $40,000 in realized profits and $38,000 in unrealized profits. And actually, I do think that I will go ahead and take some more profits here. Let's take about 14% more off the table. And as we can see, now $45,000 in realized profits. I do think there is a strong chance that we come again and test this wick. It is entirely a possibility, but this is one of the best possible trades I could have done. And we weren't only shorting this market, we also went into an aggressive long. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I go to the chart here, we essentially called a long right around $106,600 within my community. It was right around these levels as Bitcoin started to trickle on up, and I was fully expecting us to at least target 107.5K. But as you can see, we were pleasantly surprised with a massive pump to the upside, and we took all 3 of our take profits, only to enter a short afterwards and make even more money. Now, if you don't believe me, here are the receipts from my community. We entered this Bitcoin long setup right around $106,750. And if I go back to the chart, it was right around this level right here before we had that massive breakout. Now back here, our take profits were $107,200, $107,900, and then 108.5K. Then we of course left a moon bag, but since then we came back down to that break-even region. So the first take profit on this long saw us make $5,000. We hit TP1, TP2, and TP3 on this Bitcoin long. Then I posted another alert here saying very high risk trade. Entry level $108,900 with the following profit targets below 108K and all the way down to 106K. Now we didn't quite make it to below 106K quite yet, but there is a chance that we could get there, and I'll show you exactly why in this video. And anyways, actually Bitcoin is pumping right now $107,500. I'm going to take even more off the table here. I'll take off another 32%, let's say, and I'll close that. Now we have $53,000 in realized profits. One of my best trades in a very long time. So back to the Bitcoin chart. What is next? Because right now we are still in this consolidation area above the 106.2K daily support level. And so long as we can stay above that level, I am still extremely bullish and I would be targeting higher levels. Bitcoin made it all the way above 109.9K, inches away from 110K. So as long as we stay above this white line, as you see on the chart here, I would be going full bull mode. Now, the question is, Can we go back and tag lower? Is that a possibility? And of course it is. You'll remember on the channel, I was actually leaning more towards us potentially going towards the breakdown region before pumping to all-time highs. But the requirement for that was actually supposed to be a daily close below this key support level. If you've been watching the channel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But as you can see, every single time we flirted with this support level, we just got a wick. And then we got those daily confirmations above 106.2K, which of course fueled us to that all-time high. My only main condition for us to make a new all-time high was to hold the 106.2K level as daily support, and that's exactly what we kept on doing. I'm very pleased to see this with Bitcoin, and I hope that we can go ahead and move much higher. Now, if you want to trade this market based on what we've been talking about on the channel or based on your own analysis, you have the two links in my description down below. The first link brings you directly to Bluffin, which you can get a $300 bonus for depositing $2,000 into your futures account. This bonus is completely free. All you need to do is sign up with the first link in my description down below and of course make that initial deposit. If you're already an active trader, you might as well sign up because this one also has no KYC. The second link is Weeks, where you can get up to $100 completely for free, the first 100 users that sign up with the second link in my description down below. We also have 20% deposit rewards, and you can earn up to $400 in bonuses based on what you deposit, and you can earn up to $30,000 in rewards in total based on your trading volume. Those are the two links in my description down below. And just to reiterate, we have Bluffin number 1, Weeks number 2, and my community where I post some of my trades as number 3. Now, just keep in mind, this is a free community, but once you get into that community, the only thing that you need to do to actually join the Signals group would be to send me a message saying Signals. And once you send that message, I will onboard you onto one of these two exchanges to add you into the free Signals group. So if you've already signed up with my links down below, make sure to message me the word Signals and I'll get you in that group so long as you've already made a $500 deposit into your trading account. Let's get back to the Bitcoin dominance chart because we do need to talk about this. Bitcoin dominance continues to increase. As I said, if we pump to the upside, we will get a massive pump in Bitcoin dominance. But if we get that big dump, it's likely that Bitcoin dominance would also continue to increase. And with this volatility that we're seeing with Bitcoin at the current moment, I think it's fair to say that altcoins are just continuing to suffer, as we've been talking about on the channel extensively. So, why did Bitcoin end up dumping after making that all-time high? Well, we have the stock market that had a pretty steep correction today, below the weekly open and below the yearly open. And right now, it looks like we want to go ahead and touch this 200-day moving average and see if we can hold that level as support. Now, if I zoom out, the reason why this is very interesting is because previously we discussed this stock market possibility back in 2022, where basically we pumped above the 200-day moving average after making an aggressive low, and then we weren't able to hold it as support. In fact, it was acting as resistance multiple times, and then the stock market moved much lower. So today's dump with the stock market tells you exactly what you need to know. Yes, it is still very much correlated with Bitcoin, and you'll remember correctly a few videos ago, we actually found out that they are correlated to a level of 0.86. Highly correlated. So right now, as I said for Bitcoin though, as long as we keep on holding above 106.2K as support, we can easily go much higher. But as soon as we start breaching this level, that is when I'd like to discuss my next target, which you'll remember is again this breakdown region. Now, the reason I'm still targeting this region, despite the fact that the bullish alternative played out, is because we have so much liquidity down there. And if you find that hard to believe, just look at the liquidity here. We can see right now that if Bitcoin were to go up to $120,000, there would be under $4 billion of cumulative short liquidation leverage. We already liquidated a lot of shorts with this recent pump. Then, on the flip side, if Bitcoin were to go all the way down to $91,000, there is over $22 billion of cumulative long liquidation leverage. What do you think will happen? Now, I'm not necessarily calling for $90,000 or $85,000, but it wouldn't surprise me if we made our way back to the mid 90K region at some point, pending the daily closes back below 106.2K. Now, this doesn't have to be seen as a very bearish thing. Perhaps we can go ahead and hold this level as support, which I was anticipating in my previous videos. If we can hold this level as support, I would honestly be very optimistic that we would go ahead and put a more aggressive all-time high. And actually, for the more bullish case in the long term, I would prefer that Bitcoin comes down and tests lower levels before putting in a new all-time high, arguably much higher than $120,000 per Bitcoin. The reason I'm concerned here is because from these lows, which were previous support levels back in 2024, we went aggressively to the moon, and I don't think that this is sustainable. Unfortunately, if Bitcoin were to just continue to go up in a straight line, sure, that would be amazing for all of you that longed, even the late longs for that matter, but I do think that the top would likely be a lot more diminished if we just continue to go up without any major consolidation. Now, that's just my opinion. You might think that from here we can easily just go to $150,000, $200,000 Bitcoin, as so many influencers are calling, but I don't think that there's a high probability for that. So I'm trying to keep my expectations and your expectations tempered down a little. So let's take a look at our whale, because we were covering this guy quite extensively. Now, his position is worth $1.1 billion at the moment, and he is currently sitting in a $2 million P&L after taking several millions of dollars in profits before re-entering into this position. And actually, before I was recording this video, when Bitcoin went all the way back down to below $107,000, this guy was in shambles. His P&L was actually minus $5 million, but he went ahead and continued to hold this trade, despite the fact that his liquidation level is still sitting just below $104,000. Do you think that he will get liquidated? Make sure to leave your comments down below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know in my previous videos I may have seemed relatively impressed with his balls of steel, but this is just another level. Bitcoin could easily come back down to the low 100K levels, especially if we go and target that breakdown region, which is back below into the mid 90K levels. So he is still at risk of getting liquidated despite being in a huge P&L of $2.5 million. But let's see how things materialize. I would be very shocked if the market makers would let him get away with this trade. And if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, still a ton of volatility, but right now this is still looking like a very strong daily candle. If we close below this level, we'll be having a much different conversation in tomorrow's video. The next thing I wanted to show you are the liquidation levels. I mean, we grabbed this liquidity to the upside. As I discussed in my previous videos, a lot of people kept on adding to shorts right as Bitcoin continued to go higher and higher and higher and higher. And so we went ahead and liquidated them. Then once we chopped around and I saw that we weren't going to be moving much higher, that's when I entered that trade within my Telegram community. So right here, there is a ton of liquidity, a little bit lower than where we currently are. And let's not forget the fact that we have a ton of liquidity here, over $22 billion worth of liquidity from here down to $90,000. And before we wrap up this quick video, did I not tell you that Bitcoin would be dragging the rest of the altcoin market with it? But as Bitcoin continues to chop around very aggressively, most altcoins are still struggling. So you can imagine that if Bitcoin were to go back down to the mid 90K region, which I still think is a possibility, altcoins would continue to get annihilated. It is still not the time to be in altcoins, in my honest opinion. Now, if Bitcoin continues to consolidate above the previous all-time high, right around 109.5K, call it 110K, then altcoins would likely get a little bit of steam, because everything in the crypto market is currently waiting for Bitcoin's next move. We got the new all-time high by a couple $100, but is that it? Are we just going to chop around below that all-time high? Because that is not the best environment for altcoins, as I've continued to say. We chop around above the all-time high, then altcoins start to have a little bit of a chance despite the restrictive monetary policy. But ultimately, as I've been saying, once we get that shift in monetary policy, that is when we finally get a true altcoin season. Until then, Bitcoin moves up, it will drag the altcoin market with it. But if Bitcoin dumps, altcoins will dump even further. I hope you don't mind that I included that commentary in this video. I just need to give everyone a reality check, because people think that altcoins will just go to the moon from here. Newsflash, if altcoins actually do start pumping here, then we might be much closer to the end of the cycle than most people are willing to admit. And that sums up today's video. Bitcoin just made a brand new all-time high and has had an aggressive move downwards to liquidate all of those late longs. Now, can we continue to consolidate above 106.2K and continue to put in new all-time highs? Or is it really time for Bitcoin to have a breather, go back down to the mid 90K region, and then go ahead and put a more aggressive all-time high? We've been printing in my community. Today we had some crazy gains, both longing the market and shorting the market, and this was one of my best trades in the past few months. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.